finished. So problem solving means that when you are working on the project, there are a lot of problems can be arisen. The problem is that I give you a simple program. While we are running at this machine, we want to 5 gateway. So 5 gateway so that we don't have the 5 gateway, so we go in and take the gateway from the downstairs. So this is the problem. They don't want to give you. So this is kind of a problem. How we get the material. So sometimes they got the similarly. This is a very minor problem, but in the project there will be a major problem. In the you run your project we want to run as a model. So those models are 415 volt model. We can run a model. So in this case we want a transformer. So in this case how do we solve? We have to bring the transformer to the set of the voltage. In this case, you also know that the voltage level need to be properly protected. So those kind of the problems can happen. So this is just I talking about the technical problem. So when we are working on the project, there will be many not only the technical problems, but also the budgeting problem, financial problems, the people management problem. So those several problems can happen in the project. So because of this one, those problems need to be resolved effectively and quickly. So if you solve the problem, as quickly as possible at the early time will be the best, because the later the time, then problem will be the bigger and bigger. So finally, you problem cannot be the control. So because of this one, we have to the project manager responsibility is to assess the problem and respond and solve the problem. So nature of the problem means that some problems require the immediate reaction, and some problems are the crisis, so the immediate response to the crisis. Some problems are the response to the opportunity. Sometimes the problem is not the negative way, but the positive way. So that you can take care of the problem, you can get the opportunity. So in this case, the project manager has to formulate a strategy to how to resolve the problem. So now today's lesson, I will give them a note and explanation about how to respond to the problem and how to solve the problem. As a project decision making and problem solving. During the execution phase of the project, particularly, the project manager will be faced with the need to solve the whole range of the problem rapidly and effectively. So that when we are running the project, so in any stage the problem can be arisen. So in this case, those problems need to be resolved rapidly and effectively. And it will not be possible to pre-plan all eventualities. The manager needs to possess the abilities to handle the such situations. So that although the project management we make the planning in advance, we determine all the possibilities. So but all the things cannot be foreseen. So sometimes the unexpected problems can be arisen. So when there's such kind of unexpected problem arisen, how to resolve the problem is very important for the qualities of the project manager. So the problem is divided as a gap between an accurate situation or the perception of it and the required or expected situation. So that for the problem we design the problem to live with the $10,000, but there's a real cost is $20,000. So this $10,000 is different between your budgeted value and the accurate value. So this is the kind of the problem. So that kind of problem, how to resolve it? So this is the important one. So how to interpret, how to resolve. So problem interpretation is depending on the different from the one person to the another person. For the one person, this problem is a minor problem, but other persons there will be great problem. So depending on the person's quality and abilities, the problem can be regarded by the different person in a different views. So the problem, they will resolve the problem in a different way. So the nature of problems are, some problems require the immediate reaction. So immediate reaction means that some problem is very serious problem. So in this case, we have to respond to the immediate decision. But especially for the electrical fires, when the electrical fire starts, so in this case, you have to make the fire extinguish. You cannot think about because this one will be expressed and will be burned out of everything. So this is the things that provide very immediate attention. And sometimes our problems are the response to the crisis. So some things are problems if the crisis means the crisis can happen. For example, in the New Zealand, this is the crisis they face as earthquake, so this is the crisis. So this is no one expect the earthquake, so it immediately comes, so when we resolve this problem. So this is for the response to the crisis. How to resolve the problem. So sometimes our problems are imaginary problem. So this kind of problem is gradually the developing the problem. So the some undesirable state of the affairs likely to happen. So what are you going to do to resolve it? So this is the thing. So this is gradually resolving and developing the problem. So this kind of problem developing, sometimes the problem too big. So in this case, the problem sometimes the problem cannot be uncontrollable. So because of this one, you have to not only resolve the problems when the problem is very large. So at the time of the initiation or the time of the developing the problem or the time of the progressing the problem, that time you have to resolve the problem. So the some problems are the response to an opportunity. So some specials are the problem solving methods can be utilized. So the speculated the problem solving or the avoidance in advance of the undesirable situation. So before going to the avoiding this undesirable situation, sometimes you need to divert the problem. You have to avoid the problem. So this is the thing also the important for the project. Okay, so when we are solving the problem, so we have to determine the strategy of formulation. So how to follow the course to the desired situation over the period of the year. How to resolve that situation. To resolve the problem. This is the important one. So the response can be that run away or the remove the source of the potential danger. So these two things are the people used to do it. So sometimes the people are start the problem too big, so in this case people run away. In this case, you see the problem fire here. The fire is small fire, you can extinguish. Fire too big, you have to run away as much as you can, and as far as you can. That's really better. Otherwise, you will also be burned out. So this is the way to do it. So some problems are not too big problem, but you cannot. If by running away, problem will be more and more the problem. So this is for the response can be that some people will run away from the problem. Some way is remove the source of the potential danger. So this is the way to tackle and then we solve the problem. Okay, now I talk about the pre-programming of the action. So sometimes so you face with the problem and you determine the problem solution. In this case, you have to program your action. How do you program your action? How to solve the problem? So once the method has been defined for the resolving a situation, it can be refined and improved. So this is for the pre-programming of the action. Pre-programming of the action. So when we are resolving the problem, so we have to find a strategy how to solve the problem. Once the method has been defined for a resolving a situation, so it can be refined and improved. So sometimes in the problems you need a multi-phase approach. So once you approach the problem, this problem can solve. In this case, you have to define the problem, you have to determine another alternative way. So the sublet approach, you have to do the sublet approach. So sometimes you can solve the problem. So in this case, some way to solve the problem. So what happens you need to do is removing the stop progress from the action. So sometimes some actions are sometimes negative actions. So if your negative actions are too overwhelming, so in this case you might think that this is a very important way to solve the problem. So in this case you have to remove the such kind of thought. So those thoughts are will be the negative here towards for the resolving the problem. So in this case you have to remove some thought from the action. So they are to the great extent, but they also should be the independent of the individual carrying out. Sometimes you have to resolve the problem. You need to separate the person from the problem. So if you are too much personally biased, you cannot easily resolve the problem. So this is the way that separating the person from the problem is an important aspect. So when you are resolve the problem, those focus on your personal bias or personal like or dislike. So you also need to focus the problem as the whole organization are. You should view that as the whole organization. So to solve the problem. So it's a problem, it's a predetermined problem, it's follow. The actions are the traceable back to the people who carry out. So sometimes our problem solving means that one person can't solve the problem because this person got inefficient to solve. In this case, you can trace who is got the problem with the problem, who cannot resolve the problem. In this case, you might find the alternative people to solve the problem. Okay, so the actions are then the responsibility of the organization rather than the individual. This means that when we are working as a team and as the whole organization, the problem is not only the one particular people the problem, because the whole organization also faces with this problem. So that only you ignore that the whole thing and then you just let this person do as his life, so that he may not solve the problem. So his fighting and his failure will also impact on the whole organization. So this is the ways there. You need to judge the problem. Some problems are how serious. So some of the problems can be very serious. It can threaten your sustainability of your organization. In this case, that kind of problem cannot be viewed as an individual problem. Should be viewed as an organization problem. In this case, not all people in the organization should cooperate to resolve the problem. So that should the procedures fail, the identification of the fail point is a consultative help as a test can be traced. So that which point is the fail? A failing point, in this case, from the failing point, from the up to the structure point, alright, so from the failing point, in this case, this failing point, find that the problem is a fail, find that this action is a fail, so this action, you need to be there, correct that action. So from by making the correction at this point, you can get the progress to solving the whole problem. So that now I give you I will give you the computerized model for the systematic problem solving model. So that this is a systematic problem solving model. It says that will be the computer control flow chart. I will give you the systematic problem solving model. For the systematic problem solving model. So firstly, we have to consider whether the problem exists or not. So no problem exists, you should not do anything. Refer back to the check for the existence of the gap. And the problem is really exists. So that in this case, we have to determine whether the answer pre-structure. Some problems are that you should have the structure solution. So that if the structure solution is can be the structure, in this case you have to follow the appropriate procedure and to solve the problem. But the answer cannot be structured. In this case, you have to define the definition. So definition means that you have to define the problem. Why the problem happens? So what kind of problem? So for example, so we do the problem means that this is a model we are writing. We run a model. So model needed the one a physical. So to define the problem means that insufficient body to run this model. Okay, so the insufficient body to run the model means we have to make a sufficient body. So how to do the thing? So two things you have to do, whether you design as a self transformer or the way you do the thing. So in the job practical, you have designed it, you yourself design the self transformer. Firstly, we take out the power supply, we try to connect. So we do can do, so we have to take out the transformer, we connect. So those transformers stay can provide a sufficient electrical power. So we have to consider the bigger size of transformer. So this is the way to the structure, the solution. So that when you define the problem, when you got the problem definition, then you have to determine you will get the way to resolve the problem. Okay, so this is after you got the definition, accepted the definition, so that we have to select the definition of the problem structure. Okay, definition accepted. Accepted means definition this problem and this solution is a match. For example, you want a 415 volt supply without providing a 415 volt supply, you can't run this model at the anyway. So in this case, all other are not important. So the important one is we need the higher voltage. So this is the definition. So the definition accepted, then you can execute the evaluate the solution. Okay, so then you got a solution. Solution accepted, you have to implement a solution accepted, you have to go back to the problem and then you can define the thing and so you have to repeat it into two. So the solution accepted, you can implement, otherwise you have to go back to the see the alternative definition or the select the definition of problem structure, you have to repeat the whole thing. So those steps are the analysis steps. Analysis step means that you define the problem and then you define the appropriate solution. Analysis step, and after that you have to evaluate the solution. So your solution is whether it's good enough or not, so you have to evaluate. So this is the synthesis of the solution. After synthesis of solution, you can proceed to the action. So that all the action you need to do the solution. So that for the things your predicate, you only do that you need higher voltage. So the solution is to provide a higher voltage. Okay, so this is that we run a motor at the higher voltage supply. So everything you know that we can before that what we do is we test a motor. Okay, we test a motor means this supply can run a motor. So before you bring in that this is a high voltage power bound, I ask you to test the motor with a higher voltage level. So firstly we use a very small transformer. You run the motor, so motor can run. Motor can run, we only need a higher power. So in this case we decide to move this one from here to there. So this is the way that we solve the solution. This is the systematic solution. So this systematic solution means that this solution gradually approach to your final final answer. So final completion, the solution will be alright. If this one stays diverted from your requirement, so in this case you have to review and then you have to find out another one. So this is the way that we solve the problem. To resolve the problem means that not only the theoretical knowledge, but also your practical experience is very important. Especially in the engineering problem solving. If you possess your hand-on experience, you can solve the problem more quickly and more easily. This is the why the new diploma course we need that trace background. If you are designing the whole building wiring system, it's the engineer has not know how the positive or negative, how the phase and neutral. So his design are not be the appropriate for the real practical situation. Although he can make on the paper, use the computer software, he don't know how the thing. So this is the can't effectively solve the problem. So the only thing can do is that it depends on the foreman or someone. So the someone, what manager or foreman, they have to assist the engineer. So this is the way. So this is the only the university graduate here they don't have too much practical experience. So the real problem are very difficult to tackle and resolve. This is the why the solution of the problem is very based on your practical experience or your practice. So you've got a practical experience you are doing, so easier to solve. So now we solve the problem. What we do, not only that I do all the calculation, we test it. Similarly, we construct the thing, we test the thing, and lot thing we change. This is the way that the people who work in the industry they solve the problem. So you are the people who design the problems are not the PhD coming out from the university. They really are working from the shop floor and they design and they can resolve the problem. And then those people got more advanced level knowledge, they can more effectively determine and solve the problem in the engineering. This is the way to solve the problem. Not only the theoretical knowledge, but also the practical experience is very essential to solve the problem. So in this case, when we are making the problem for decision making, so decision making can be the poor decision making. So in this case, poor decision making means although that the person want to solve the problem, he don't know about the problem. He has no experience in the history, so that he might very sure to make the poor decision making. So poor decision making means the data are not properly the order or the structure can happen, or the too much time spent in the blowing the answer rather than the statement on the problem. Sometimes the people you just want to solve the real short-term problem. So only the short-term problem is resolved, but they don't tackle the real major problem. So this is the way that people can make the poor decision making. Also, there's an inability to the part of the decision maker to consider all the variable factors. But because of all the problems are very related to all other aspects. Okay, so now we got the one way sometimes you solve the problem, you make the solve the problem in the one part, but the effect also happen into another part. So solving the thing you also need to judge whether you're solving this problem will impact on another part or not. So how consequences effect can happen, those the things have to be taken into account in the problem solving. First decision making is very because of the data not properly ordered or the structure, or the too much time spent on the developing the answer rather than the studying of the problem, and inability on the part of the decision maker to consider all the various factors, and inability to evaluate the impact of the extraneous stuff. So those are related to the poor decision making. So because of this one, we are making the decision making the model. So descriptive model means a group model. So you have to group the problem. There are so many problems so you have to consider which problems can be the same. So the all problems saying the thing you have to group and then resolve all the things. And also we also need the mathematical model. So sometimes we have to utilize the mathematical concepts to resolve the problem. Sometimes statistical prediction. So sometimes all inputs are not an input. You have to use the prediction method. Prediction method means what can happen in the future. So this is a prediction. The prediction method you have to utilize to resolve the problem. And sometimes you have to determine the input and the output from the how the input and output happening. So those things have to be utilized. So although when you are making the prediction, those prediction is you expect that something happen in the future, but this future something happening with depending on the variable, so many variables. So depending on the time, so depending on the other factor, or your focus. Although you focus something, the focus will be different from the time to time. So those things is you have to do the real-time system. Real-time system means when you are working on the program, you need to be really in touch with your field. So you, for example, you want to resolve the problem in your workshop, you should be very in touch with your workshop. Without coming to the workshop, you can't solve the problem. So this is the ways the very experienced and the problem solving are very related. So sometimes electrical problems so you can do only on the diagram and drawing. So you have to be in the real workplace. So when you clean the workplace, you can know the real problem. So real problem, then you can resolve the problem more effectively. So this is the way we are modeling the problem solving. So the decision making models there will be descriptive model. So this is the graphical model. So graphical model means you have to draw the graph, you have to draw a diagram, circuit diagram, especially the electrical jobs. If you want to resolve the problem, the best thing is you first draw the circuit diagram. Draw a circuit diagram, and so it's easier to solve the problem. And mathematical model means that you have to calculate the mathematical equation, you have to utilize sometimes a static prediction. So take the limited inputs and use the mathematical techniques to predict the outcome. Sometimes an in-out system. So sometimes in-out systems, for example, sometimes you do the power lines model. Power transmission line model means that we don't know that the whole system. In this case, we have to construct a small model. Small model means that line resistance, inductance, impedance, we are making this small model, and we set the low voltage, and then we see how the output voltage. So this is the ways that are easier to make the thing. So this is the simulation method. So simulation method is sometimes it's more effective than the theoretical calculation. And sometimes with the dynamic predictive model. Dynamic predictive model means that although you expect the one outcome, the outcome will be changing depending on the different input. So in this case, you need to make the constant review. So you have to take the constant review of the input to the system, and you have to provide the most up-to-date forecast for the performance. So those things are the decision-making model. So decision-making model is not only applying to the management and engineering, we are also applying to especially that you use the drawing design or the mathematics or real practical model. By this thing that we can resolve the problems. So sometimes our problem can be the uncertainty. Uncertainty means that, for example, this year how many students come in and join in this section. We don't know the thing because of this is the uncertainty. Uncertainty means there may be high student number or a low student number coming out. So depending on how the people view the course. Okay, but the thing is that if you guys are faced with the uncertainty, the best thing is that you have to make so many certainty. You cannot face with the one solution. You have to face with the alternative solution. If this one does not happen, what will we do the next? If this solution is not appropriate, what will we quickly choose another solution? This is the way that you have to make the this is the thing. So this is the best way to resolve the problem. So for example, I made this one thing this is this semester. So we are instructed not to accept that 177908. Uncertainty happen. Uncertainty means that any place you can make the uncertainty. Sometimes your budget and your time can be uncertain. So the best thing is that if you are the risk of the uncertainty, you have to find out the sovereign way to solve the problem. Not only the peaceful one. You have to find out the sovereign way to solve the problem. Okay, so this is for the uncertainty management. So when we are handling the uncertainty in the decision making, the firstly is that you have to analyze. How to analyze using the best data available, the possible safe pattern for the product. So this is for the examiner. So you have to utilize the best data available. And second, do the rest of prediction and spend the rest of the time looking for the option as what will happen given the various scenarios. So this means that firstly you have to, without solving any concrete solution, you can't solve the problem. So firstly you have to formulate the one solution, and you try to solve it. If that's this solution, it's the that you coming out with the answer. So whether your solution is alright or not. So in this case, you have to determine the other appropriate possible options, and then you have to consider what will happen. So you have to given the various scenarios. Both can be the good or bad. Those things are the handling of the uncertainty. So the enemies are placed on any organization. So depending on the organization, so those are the uncertainty can be arisen. In this case, so to handle the uncertainty, the best thing is that you have to make the research. You have to make the research. You have to explore the several ways. And then those are solutions. One solution to another solution. You need a comparison, and after that you can get the best answer. So that the only thing that the problem solution means that without sitting on the just desk, you can't solve the problem. In this case, you should really solve the problem. Without doing anything, you can't get the answer. So the best thing that you try one thing, try an error. Okay, so try one thing means that you can go to this. You have to get a good direction of trying, so that by trying method you can know the response. Based on the response, you can determine the appropriate new steps to solve the problem. So this is the ways in the project. So that the project management solution means that not only that are applying for the industry, so also that your people life, they are also to solve the problem. So those are the problem solution methods apply for the electrical engineering project. Now we will talk about the